Thank everyone so much for joining tonight. As I mentioned, some of you might not have been on a little bit earlier, but I've had a power outage, so I am on my cell phone outside so you can actually see me versus the dark place and dark office. So trying to improvise on my cell phone, but I am Tiffany Feingold. I am the co-founder of Guiding Bright Minds. And you are joining us tonight with Rachel Kaplan from Guided by Humanity, talking about self-care, which I know as myself of a parent of a neurodiverse child that sometimes when we hear mindfulness or self-care and that's the last thing on our mind, unfortunately. And we're like, yeah, like we have time to add that into our schedule. And how does that look? And what does that look like for us? But as we all know, and I like to use this example because it was said to me, when you're on the airplane and they always say you put your mask on before you put your child's mask on. And that's because of the safety of us. And I look at it as that opportunity of us putting our mask on to be the best version that we possibly can be so that those that are around us that we love, can benefit from that. And when I started even thinking about self-care for what that meant for me, I literally started meditating for just a couple minutes at a time. I mean, I literally started with a couple minutes where I'd sit in my bathroom and just breathe and just meditate. Starting small, because I think that's the other thing that it seems overwhelming is adding another thing onto our plate. We're like, oh my gosh, one more thing is journaling, that is yoga, that is what does that look like and what does that mean for us? So that's the one thing that I focused on, is taking small breaks and really breaking it down to making it work. But thank you guys again. And if you haven't checked out Guiding Bright Minds, please do. If you haven't joined as a member, it is free for parents and caregivers. And what we offer is to help you on your journey, to connect you to wonderful professionals like Rachel, psychologists, tutors, educational advocates, even schools that focuses on kids with neurodiversities, to bring to you your community that you can look to, that's going to support, that's going to understand your child and look at their strengths as well and find what's most important to them. So truly appreciate that. And also too, because I am a parent of a neurodiverse child, so I understand how overwhelming that journey can be. So if there's other topics and resources and tools that you're looking for, also on our website, you can go in and add, there's a section to add questions and to add comments. And we'd love to hear from you. What can I do? How can I help you on your journey? Right now, our network of professionals is just located in Colorado. We just launched 15 months ago, so we're looking to expand nationally and really build that community and support. We do offer, just so you know, a monthly Zoom call for parents called Champions Together. And that's because I know how important it is to talk to other parents who understand what we're going through. And they can support me on my journey. They get it when I tell them my child scored a gold and spit on the kid's face next to him. And as a parent, you're horrified. But another parent of a neurodiverse child will hug you because they know what that's like and that pain. And so it's just building what we can do to support one another, to provide grace and to be able to just listen and understand. So that's what my mission and my vision for Guiding Bright Minds is, to have that opportunity to share those resources, to be a part of what that journey looks like and hopefully help you through that. So definitely share with us what we can do to help. I will be sending out a copy of the recording and any documents that Rachel may have that we'll be able to send out. But so this will be sent out probably by the end of this week. As we're going through this, I know, Rachel does want it to be interactive too. And we can't see you, unfortunately, and we won't be able to hear you, but in the chat or in the Q&A, as you have questions, please put that in there so we can address what it is you'd like to learn about and what you'd like to hear more about. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Rachel. Thank you so much. for you to introduce yourself and tell us more about how you got on this path and what you're doing to help families, parents, and professionals.
Mm. Thank you, Tiffany. I'm so honored to be here, and what an amazing organization Guiding Bright Minds is. More than ever, we really need those groups of people to come together and support us. We have to find those kindred spirits and those like-minded folks who know what we're going through and who we can bounce things off and who can support us and keep us accountable and give us a little bit of that levity and some of that emotional relief, just knowing that we're not alone in this. So it's really a pleasure to be here with you. And where I'm coming from in Colorado is a nonprofit called Guided by Humanity. We were founded in 2017, started with a desire to really connect and offer up more community and more empowerment to the intellectual and developmental disability community. Our founder, Mary, was a disability advocate and direct care provider. And I came from a background as a disability advocate in a law firm for almost 15 years, where I represented folks who were looking for Social Security disability, long-term disability, VA benefits. And through that time as a disability advocate, I became very, very familiar with working within the system, and both its wonderful relief and support that it can offer, and also the harm that can happen to individuals and families as they're working through a system that can't really support them in real time. Often, in my experience, there were so many hoops people had to jump through to prove something, and that can be really, really devastating and really challenging to people. But through that work, I became very connected with the disability community, and really just came to understand that there is a level of wisdom and compassion and ability to extend understanding to everyone else that is really singular to folks experiencing disabilities and their families. And the truth is that all of us are going to experience a disability at some time in our life, whether it is a temporary disability, or whether it is through aging, or whether it's something that you were born with or acquire. This is a reality of our life, and to lean into that truth and look at how we can explore all of the different layers of our being, we can have a full, rich life that offers and acknowledges beauty and worth at every stage of it. So that is why I turned to yoga in my own experience, my own body, and my own mental health. I turned to yoga because it was a way for me to come into better connection with my own mind and what it was that I was doing. And so that I could live with a little bit more intentionality, and I should say with a lot more intentionality. And then in 2019, I met up with Mary Sims, who's the founder of Guided by Humanity, and began working with her, teaching yoga and to folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities in day programs. And we went to different yoga studios, rented space, brought groups in, and worked that way until 2020, when we were able to secure a brick and mortar building just in time for COVID to change the whole world. But we were able to respond to utilize our skill in taking care of people and infection prevention and cleaning practices. And we've actually been able to keep that studio open, keep classes going this whole time. And we have connections with Craig Hospital and Children's Hospital. So to tell you more about what our programming is, we have a signature program called All Abilities Yoga, which is geared for adults and kids with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And it is a program that really centers around that community building and that connection, goals of learning how to self-regulate and how to co-regulate, and then also body awareness and then a lot of work on mindfulness and breathing and movement that ends up being a lot of fun and really just builds connections, honors each other, and allows everyone to share their voice. And of course, we have all sorts of ways that people share their voice in our class, whether it's using an electronic screen or signing, or maybe using a card, or maybe even using eye movements or speaking. But everyone is welcome and everyone has a chance to be lifted up in this program. And so that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is expanding into a wonderful children's program too. And we actually have a kids program starting in a summer camp starting in July. But I can go on and on and on about that. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. We have some amazing yoga cards that I can send out to folks who are interested. We partnered with Special Olympics and came up with a deck featuring our models from our own community and from Special Olympics. And it's just this really nice little guide on yoga and mindfulness practices. So you can let Tiffany know.
Yeah. So I just want to, so what you're saying, that those that are attending, and these are cards that, gives helpful tools and resources that they can use for yoga. Is that what these cards are?
It's actually goes through our whole All Abilities program. So there's a section on mindfulness, a section on breathing, a section on reflection, a section on guided meditation, and then a section on movement. And it's all offering up different accessible poses that can be done from a seat, from lying down, or from standing, keeping in mind the needs of a person's body. And maybe they need more time in transitions, or maybe they need to practice from a sturdy seat so that they can be safe. So it's a really sweet offering to the community.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So if you're interested, if you guys could put that in the chat does get, what do I want to say, copied. So yeah, just say you're interested. I have your email address. So then I'll follow up with an email from myself, and then you can send me your address. Don't put it in the chat, but just say, yes, you're interested. And then I'll circle back and get each person's address. And then you're saying we can mail them out those cards if they want them.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Tiffany, sorry, I just gave you so much more work to do.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No worries at all.
So in addition to our All Abilities yoga, I also teach yoga for amputees, prenatal yoga, postnatal yoga, and adaptive yoga. Those are my real interests in offering people ways to come into their own body, no matter what it is that they're experiencing. I also teach yoga therapy for grief. We offer a mindful grieving series. It's a 6-week series, and that takes place on Zoom. And it's going to start in August, actually on the 7th. So when Tiffany first reached out, she was really interested in what we could offer, maybe a discussion about the challenges and the grief that parents have been experiencing. We experience grief all throughout our lives, but this has been a pretty heavy couple of years with a lot of work and not very many breaks. I know a lot of families have not had opportunities for any respite, and babysitters have been few and far between if you are healthy enough to have people come into your house. So I understand that there's been a lot going on, and there is a real need to acknowledge our emotions and the grief that comes with this high level of work, and sometimes low level of support. So with that in mind, I didn't want to bring up lead you through a mindful grieving session, because I don't think there's enough time for me to open that can of worms and close it, and I'll have you go back to your lives and feel okay. But I think what we can do is talk about what it is that can give us a little space, what we can do to give us a little space to acknowledge what it is we're experiencing, and find some practices, mindfulness practices that are accessible to allow you to come back to yourself and figure out what your intention is, what your purpose is, maybe even find a way to have a little fun and come back to some joy, even in the midst of suffering, because suffering can be endless. There's an endless amount of ways that we're suffering, but there's also an endless amount of things to be grateful for and to find gratitude for. We just might have to be a little more creative when we try to name them. So I wanted to start us out first with a meditation to give you a chance to look within and take a little stock of where you are right now. So one of the philosophical tenets of yoga is that we are multi-layered. We're not just a body. We have an energy layer. We have an emotional layer. We have an intellectual layer. And then we have a soul. And some people who don't have maybe don't identify with a spiritual path, you could also call that your higher self, that connection to your higher self. So I'd like to lead you through a meditation tonight first to get you in the frame of mind to think about what else is possible. So I know some of you, including Tiffany, have been juggling tonight, trying to make it all work. It's not easy to get here or to take the time for yourself, but I welcome you now to take the time. You're here, so let's do this thing. So come into a comfortable seat. If you are sitting up, you might lean back in your chair and find a little way to be a little bit more comfortable. You could lie down if you want to, although this is not about going to sleep. However, if you go to sleep, no one's going to be mad at you. It's okay. So come into a comfortable seat and just rock a little side to side. Notice your hips. You may not have noticed your low back today, or maybe you really did. Maybe your low back made itself very present in your life. Either way, come into contact with your hips. Notice your low back. Notice how, as you're sitting, if you push down with your hips into your chair, you can sit up a little bit taller. And notice too, whether your heart is lifted or not. You can try this little activity of letting your shoulders round forward, letting your head come forward and kind of leaning forward. Take a breath in and breathe out and notice how you feel. And then lift your heart up. Lift the heart, let your shoulders come back. And now take a breath in and a breath out and notice how you feel. A little bit of more awareness in your body with that lifted heart. And that's something you can do throughout your day. Lift your heart. So from here, I welcome you to lower your gaze or close your eyes and start to turn your awareness inward to your breath. Follow your breath as it moves in and out of your body. Notice the quality of your breath. Just take a few moments in these next breaths to bring your awareness to your breath, taking this time to transition from your day or anything that is happening outside this webinar and move into an internal space. So there's no need to breathe in any kind of way. Just simply notice your breath as it is and allow your breath to be an anchor, a gentle touchstone for you to return to this moment over and over. Take a breath in, take a breath out, and now follow your next breath inward and start to notice the places in your body where your breath is moving freely. Places that feel open and accessible. Just notice. Full breath in, full breath out. No need to change anything or fix anything, just notice. Now notice with your next few breaths, the places in your body where your breath might not move as easily, places that feel tight or stuck. Just take a few moments to breathe with some intention as you notice these spaces. And notice what you feel. in your body. There's no need to label good or bad. Just notice what the sensation is that you're feeling. With your breath, move your awareness more fully inward and notice your body. Start down by the feet, the lowest extent of your lower limbs, and notice what is there, any sensations that are present. Take a full breath in and a full breath out, and follow your breath inward, and let your awareness land on your knees, your legs, the sides, the back and front. Notice your whole lower body. Notice any sensations that are present there. Take a full breath in, full breath out. Ride your next breath inward, and now notice your torso, your hips. Notice your low back, the sides of your body. Notice any sensations that are present here. Use your breath as an anchor to stay with this awareness, and let your breath add some space into your body. Full breath in, full breath out. Follow your next breath in now to your chest. Notice your ribs, your lungs, your collarbone. Allow your awareness to travel to your shoulder blades, the space in between your shoulders. Notice any sensation that's present there and lean in with a little curiosity. What am I feeling? Take a breath in and a breath out, and use your breath to bring a little space into your body. With your next breath in, follow your body or follow your breath to your arms, both of your arms, if available, and notice the upper and lower. Notice your hands. Notice any sensation that's present. Take a full breath in and a full breath out, and lean in with some curiosity. What is your body telling you right now? Take a breath in and follow this breath inward once more, now to your head and your neck and your jaw, your eyes, even the crown of your head. Notice any sensations that are present here. Use your breath as an anchor. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Now, with the next few breaths, we're going to move inward just a little bit deeper and bring our awareness to our energy layer. Notice how energy is moving in your body. Notice the quality of the energy. Is it fast or slow? Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Notice the top of your body and the lower part of your body, the front and the back, and the way energy is moving. Full breath in, full breath out. Follow your next breath inward, even deeper, to your emotional layer. Notice what emotions are present. Maybe there's more than one. Use your breath as an anchor to stay with this awareness. Full breath in, full breath out. Notice if maybe there's a connection with your emotion and a part of your body, or a sensation in your body. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Noticing your body, your energy layer, your emotions. Full breath in, full breath out. Now ride your next breath inward to the intellectual layer, or that thought layer of your body and your being. Notice any thoughts that are present. Invite them to come in to focus, and then let your thoughts move out of focus. Don't need to attach any kind of story or meaning to the thought. Just watch and notice as they come and go. Use your breath as an anchor to stay with your awareness. Full breath in, full breath out. Notice that thought layer, what's present. Now with the next few breaths, we're going to move even further in, having sorted through that physical layer, that energy layer, that emotional layer, and that thought layer. And now I welcome you to take just a moment to connect with that higher self. Maybe even put your hand on your heart or somewhere on your body that feels connected to that higher self. And notice what's there in this place. This is that place that is the essence of you, the place that is unchanging no matter what else is happening. This is the part of you that knows without thinking, where you can feel your essence. Use your breath as an anchor to stay with this awareness just for a few more moments. Full breath in, full breath out. What does this part of you have to say? If it could speak, what would it say? Notice what arises. Take a full breath in, full breath out. And then see yourself coming together, all of these layers of your being, your senses, this awareness, all of this information and knowing and awareness, making up one whole being, even as you are, just as you are. You always have been whole and you always will be whole, rich with layers and complex. See yourself as a vibrant, whole being. Take a breath in, take a breath out, and then take a moment with the next couple of breaths to decide if you might want to set an intention for our work today. Is there something that's been on your mind you want to talk about or learn more about, or something you want to take away from this webinar tonight into your evening or maybe your day tomorrow? This is a chance to set an intention for yourself. And take a few breaths into that. Full breath in, full breath out. And then when you're ready, you can blink your eyes open and come back into this space here. And you might even take a moment to just write down anything that came up. Maybe you set an intention, you can write that down, or maybe you noticed something else in one of those other layers of your body or your being. This is a great time to just record that information so you can think about it. All right. So I'm curious, how do you feel after that? Taking some time to check through those layers of yourself can be pretty enlightening about what is happening here. Maybe you didn't know. Someone just wrote in amazing. Someone else said relaxed. Well, that's great. I love to hear that. And that's not always what we find. Sometimes we find that there's an emotion present that we really were not paying attention to. Or maybe we find like my body is in a tizzy and I don't know why. But using that 5 layers meditation can really help unpack some of that. So there's my first offering for you tonight. Sometimes the emotions and the feelings that we encounter in that can be hard, but if we use our breath as an anchor and we lean in with some curiosity, there's a lot of wisdom to be gained from our own information that our senses provide us and that our body can provide us. So moving on, or maybe
Well, Rachel, I want to say something really quick too, Rachel,
Yeah.
because I know when I get stressed or, things are happening, I hold my breath. You're going to hear some thunder. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but it's starting to rain and thunder. But that's one thing that happens. Like, and I don't know if most people notice that, but when I do, I like hold my breath, I stop breathing. So
Yeah.
that's just wonderful to be mindfulness about the importance, because it truly does just release. So sorry, I just wanted to say that because
Oh,
I
no.
thought about that the other day. I'm like, I stop, I hold it.
Yeah. And there are some places, especially, well, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but there are some times when holding your breath is something that people tell you to do to manage some kind of sensation, or to get through something. But that's not ever something I would advise. I think taking breath is exactly what we need to regulate our system, which is where I'm going next, because it's all about regulating your nervous system. When we get into, well, let me back up and say, I'm a mom of 3 boys. I have a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 14-year-old. So my house is incredibly loud. It's quiet right now, miraculously, but give it 30 minutes. So I'm aware of how busy, how demanding, how loud, and how hectic things can get. And what I have learned through yoga and mindfulness practice is that the more time that I can stop and take notice of what it is that I'm experiencing in my body, starting with breath, the more I can realize whether I'm unregulated. And chances are, if I'm yelling, I'm unregulated. Have you ever caught yourself yelling, stop yelling? Just like think that's the funniest thing. And when I find that, I have to laugh, which we need to do as well. Laughter is another piece of the self-care. We have to laugh at what's going on. We have to keep that laughter. But let's return to the notion of regulation and what that looks like. So just a little refresher. You've all probably heard of fight or flight, and you've heard of rest and digest. Those two parts of our nervous system, our sympathetic nervous system, that's the part that controls our heart rate and our breath and the functions of our organs. And the rest and the digest is the part that controls our ability to settle down, to find a calmer state of being, and then move into digestion. So we need that fight or flight when it's the right time. All the blood needs to move away from our internal organs or away from our limbs and protect ourselves in case something is happening and we got to take off. But when we're nice and calm, the blood moves freely and we have some space in our nervous system to move into our better thinking mind. So keeping ourselves in that regulated rest and digest place is really important. And if we're not in connection with our body because we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not practicing awareness of what our body needs, maybe not getting enough rest, or maybe just ignoring the way that we feel, doing that wonderful thing of compartmentalizing. We're going to deal with that later. If we ignore those things long enough, then we can lose touch with what our body is doing. And if we are in a fight or flight mode, there is not very much room in our brain to do any kind of problem solving. We can't reflect. We can't come up with new innovative solutions. We can't collaborate with the folks in our space or in our lives if we're in a fight or flight state. So we got to get ourselves to that regulated state. How do we do it? Breath is our bridge. Our breath is our way in to connect again with our bodies. So I have another breath practice I want to offer up for you. I just got you all settled down, and now I want to try something else. So there is a practice in yoga called alternate nostril breathing. And it may sound a little funny, but this is 2 minutes to change the whole game. I promise, if you try it in traffic or next time you find yourself in a stressful situation, give it a try. You don't have to hold on to your nostril. You can just think about it too, but I want to show you. So start out with one finger covering your left nostril. Breathe in through your right nostril. Then switch the finger and breathe out through your left nostril. Now breathe in through your left nostril and breathe out through your right. Breathe in through your right Breathe out through your left. Breathe in through your left. Breathe out through your right. Breathe in through your right. Breathe out through your left. Breathe in through your left. Breathe out through your right. Breathe in through your right. Out through your left. Breathe in through your left. And out your right. Breathe in through your right. And out your left. Breathe in through your left. And out your right. In through the right. Out the left. Now release your nose and allow yourself to just come into the breath that's just right for you. Welcome your breath. Allow your breath to feel nourishing without that pattern. How did that feel? That is an ancient practice designed to settle down your nervous system. When I teach that, one of my favorite places to teach it is in groups of doctors, because they're like, okay, are we going to keep doing this forever? How long? But it's a 2 or 3 minutes. You're going to be feeling much, much more settled if you can try that. Curious to see if anyone tried it and what you think. Chime in on that chat. Let me know. All right, so what else about our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system? How do we know if we're in fight or flight? If you're in a fight or flight or an unregulated nervous system state, you're going to have a higher heart rate. Your breathing is going to be more shallow. You may notice a feeling of, oh, someone just chimed in. I tried it and I had to blow my nose after. Totally makes sense. You don't necessarily have to plug your nose. You can just think about breathing in one nostril and out the other. I know sometimes in allergy season, it can be a little bit more challenging to blow the nose, but it's the intention. It's the intention and slowing it down that really makes the difference here. So, heightened nervous system. You may feel like your brain is full, like there's not any way that you can settle down that fast moving track of thoughts and concerns in your brain when you're in that dysregulated state, that unregulated state. So other things that we can do besides for breathing to help us move into a more regulated state is to become aware of what it is that we are thinking and to notice what is happening and going through our mind. One of the amazing human tricks that we have is something called metacognition. That is the ability to think about your thoughts and to start to control your thoughts, which I know is easier said than done. But in our work of parenting and navigating this world that is full of stressors and trauma, we have to give ourselves some space by simplifying and clarifying our thoughts. So you may have that really, really long to-do list. What I'm talking about is simplifying that list. What can you do today? What needs to be done today? And what is something that may have to take more time for answers or information or for nature to happen? And I know it sounds easier than it is, but this is part of that practice. This is part of that little daily practice. So whenever you have a moment here, maybe a minute or 2 minutes, finding yourself between tasks or on your way from one place or another, see if you can take just a moment or two to notice what is going on in your mind and whether there is a way for you to simplify and to say, thanks, brain, for offering that up. I'm not going to do that right now. I don't need to think about that right now. There's a lot of things in this world that are happening those feelings can be, or all of those pressures can feel very overwhelming. What am I going to do about it? There has to be a place where you make a choice about where you're going to let your brain go, where it's going to travel, and what thoughts you're going to allow yourself to continue to think. So finding some simplification in those thoughts. That's part of the yoga thing too, starting to control the fluctuations of your mind. So when things get out of hand, come back to your breath. That is your way in. That is a way to start to focus. And I don't know, Tiffany mentioned that she was doing some meditation for a couple minutes a day. And you may ask, well, what's meditation? What is that even? Paying attention to your breath, sticking with it. That is meditation. For a minute, for 2 minutes, you're focusing your thoughts on one thing and you're doing it for a while. So you can progress and maybe grow that span of time that you can meditate, or maybe not. Maybe that's not what you need to do. Maybe you just need those bits, those moments of mindfulness. I know that's my jam. I find those days those moments all throughout the day to come back to myself and notice what it is that I'm thinking about. And then it allows me to have a little more intentionality about my actions. So that's the second thing, intentionality. What is the intent of our action, of our words? Why are we having this emotion? Why are we having this argument? Why are we hammering in on this point, or really so directed on one thing or another? We need to step back and think about the intention behind what it is we're doing. And sometimes we have to think about whether or not what we're aiming for, what we're so driven to achieve, whether that is actually helpful. We have to bring in a little humility. We have to bring in a little grace to notice whether what we're aiming for is helpful, what we're driving at is helpful, and step back and notice, is that really in line with our intention? So the other thing that can help us to find that space to start to control our thoughts is to do a little detox. A little detox from social media, maybe from the news. If there's any kind of substances that you really rely on, maybe there's an addiction, you have to become a little more mindful about how you're putting things into your body. But really, let's talk about that social media and that news thing. We want to be aware, we have a real desire, and we actually get a little dopamine hit when we have new information come in. But that is not a real break for us. When we stop what we're working on, or the caring for people, doing our job, and we sit on our screen, that's not actually allowing us to regulate our system at all. So I know it's hard. We want to kind of zone out and take a break. We feel like that's a break, but actually that is not helping to regulate our system. So deciding to give yourself some time, when you're going to put your screens down, how much screen time you give yourself a day, or even just taking a moment to notice that you have that in your hand. You could set it down and take a few moments to breathe and notice what that's going to do for you. It will have a really positive impact on your body and on your ability to stay regulated if you give yourself a little space from the screen. I'm sure you all have thought about that with your kids a bajillion times. We all say it and think it, but we need to practice it ourselves. So our screen time, helping us to limit what we're putting into our brain, helping us to simplify what it is that we need to be thinking about so that we've got some room to make some changes or solve problems. So what about all those problems? I said before, there can be endless amount of suffering, an endless amount of problems, but there is also an endless list of the things that we can have gratitude about. And so I invite you right now to think to yourself one thing that is going right, one thing that's going well right now. Whatever it is, say it to yourself, maybe even write it down. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. And then do that over and over again in your day. Notice what is working right. What is going right now? What am I grateful for right now? That is a way to cultivate gratitude about our situation, which is another way for us to continue to build that resilience, which is so important to caring for ourselves, bouncing back from the stress and the trouble that we face. Not only is it important for us, but we are teaching our children how to be resilient as well. There's another, going back to Tiffany's analogy of the airplane and the mask. If we do not take care of ourselves in these little ways that take work and practice, our kids aren't going to know how to do that either. We have to teach our children through our own actions how to come into regulation and to nurture that resilience that we have within ourselves. So these are simple and small tips, but they're so worth it. And it does take some practice. And I welcome you to start to move these into your life if you're not already. So thinking throughout the day, what it is that you're grateful for, who it is that you're grateful for. And then maybe you even take it a step further and you tell that person. You start to share your gratitude with the people in your life, reminding them of how grateful you are. Welcome that in, and it's going to come right back to you. I promise. Take a full breath in, full breath out. So I put on that little write-up that we sent you about this webinar. How do we find joy? How do we come back to that passionate part of ourselves that is so easy to tuck away for a few years with the idea you're going to come back to it when things get a little bit easier? I want to share with you this wonderful quote, and I'm going to share a couple documents that Tiffany will send out from a book called Trauma Stewardship. Wonderful book that I think you should all check out if you have an opportunity. She's got so many amazing tips along the lines of mindfulness, but there's a really amazing quote in there from Howard Thurman. It says, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive." And do that, because the world needs people who have come alive. So how can you come alive again? Coming back to yourself, your essence of yourself. Well, there are ways to do that that involve mindfulness, dancing, spending time in nature, enjoying art, listening to music. These are all experiences that offer us some kind of transcendence, a connection to something beyond ourselves. Try that through your day. Add some of that in there and do it with intentionality. That will help to rekindle some of the joy. And maybe you come back to noticing again what it is that you're really like, what it is that lifts you up and makes you come alive. And I'm looking at the time here, Tiffany. We're like moving along so fast here. I think we're in a warp speed. Do we have 10 more minutes? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and open it for, questions, comments.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I just said a lot of words. I want to offer up some movement for you. And then hopefully we have a few more minutes to talk. So I want to introduce you to the 6 movements of the spine. Some of you may have already learned this, or maybe you have a yoga practice, or you've learned this from physical therapy or some other fitness introduction. But we have 6 movements in our spine that you can do anytime. It can take as long as an hour. You can do it in 5 minutes, and let's try it right now. So come back to your seat again, lift your heart, sit up nice and tall. Shrug your shoulders up to your ears, take a breath in, breathe out and set them down. Good. So from here, we'll do a side stretch. One hand can come to your hip, your other arm can lift up. You can lift your arm as high as you want. If you don't want to lift your arm, you can just lift your shoulder up. We're going to reach upward, growing taller in our spine, and then we're going to bend over to the side. So it's a side stretch over to one side. Come on up. Try it again. You can do it in stillness, or you can flow with it a little bit. Try it on the other side. Let your other hand come down to your hip. Lift the other arm. Reach up. Extend upward, moving from your shoulder, from your chest. Take a breath. And as you breathe out, bend over to the side. Inhale as you lift. Exhale as you bend. Try switching side to side. So here we are moving our spine laterally, side to side. You can notice how you feel in your hips, your low back, the sides of your back. Okay, side to side, 1 and 2. Now we're going to fold forward. Start with your arms down at the sides. Take a breath in as you lift your arms. Breathe out as you bring your hands down to your knees, and then crawl your fingers down towards your feet and fold over your lap as far as you want. Folding forward over your lap. Take a breath. Let it out. Maybe you shake your head yes and no. And when you're ready, crawl your hands back up and return to a tall seat. Forward fold. Now we'll do a back bend. 2 ways you can do a back bend. 1, bring your hands, press them down by your hips or clasp your hands behind your back. Give a little squeeze to your shoulder blades, squeezing them together, bringing the elbows a little closer. And from here, lift your heart. Reach your heart upward. Maybe your chin lifts. You can pull down with your hands. Squeeze a little between the shoulders. Take a breath in and breathe out. Release the hands. Let your shoulders come forward. Here's another back bend, and this one's got a little breath in there. You might like this, especially if you're having one of those days. Bring your hands and arms to cactus arms. Give a little squeeze between the shoulders, just like we did before. Lift your heart. Feel that stretch across your collarbones. Take a breath in and sigh it out with a little noise. I bet you're all glad that I can't hear you and you can hear me doing it, but I'm just going to do it one more time. Take a breath in. Let your hands come down. Shake out your shoulders. All right, back and forward. Now we're going to do a twist. Start with one hand up. Take a breath. Breathe out as you bring that hand across your body to your opposite knee and twist to the side. There's your twist. Take a breath in, lift your heart. If you notice you're curling forward, back out of that twist a little bit so you can sit up tall. Look over your back shoulder. Look over your front shoulder. Take another breath in. Breathe out, unwind. Back to the middle. All right, twist to the other side, and we're almost done here with our 6 moves. Lift your hand, take a breath. Breathe out as you bring your hand across to the opposite leg and twist. Take a moment to notice the twist. Breathe in, breathe out. Look over one shoulder, look over the other. One more breath. And then unwind back to the center, shake it all out. So those are the 6 moves of the spine. Side to side, forward, back, twist and twist. All right, I think that I should probably stop talking and see if there's any questions.
That was wonderful. I can't wait till I have my cell phone down where I can actually get up and move and do those. But that was wonderful. Such a relaxing time. So anyone, and whether you put in the chat or the Q&A on your screen, any questions? Did see a few come in interested in the cards, so we'll work on that, getting those sent out, getting the information on that, sending out the recording, and Yeah, just an opportunity. And that's funny you say that about the breathing, the meditation, because I would see how many times like I'd restart counting to 10, and if a thought came in, I would start over to see how I could get to 10 or where I could count to without, with just focusing on the numbers and not other thoughts coming in.
Mhm.
And if another thought, I'd start over and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, 2 minutes does actually go by quite fast. And it really did start to calm my mind.
Mhm.
It was truly amazing how much of an impact. But yeah, any questions, comments? What did you guys think? Would you like to have more opportunities of this time? Because that's the one thing I think about is, if we're taking time out of our day to be a part of some of those learning and growth, to have it also incorporate, this time to breathe and do those movements that are truly gonna help, rejuvenate, re-energize.
Yeah. And there's so much, I know that was kind of a bullet list of all the things that are going on and that you can do. But what if when someone asks you a question before you answer, you take a full breath in and a full breath out? Or what if before you answer the phone, you take a full breath in and a full breath out and answer the phone? Just bringing in that little bit of mindfulness may give you some space and help you to regulate your system so that when you are giving that answer or you're facing that next question, you are in that part of your brain where you can have those inventive thoughts, that problem solving and that collaboration. We have to be up in our higher brain and our prefrontal cortex to get there. And that's a whole other workshop, isn't it? Like, what's going on in the brain? Yeah, there's so many ways that we can bring just a little bit of mindfulness in. That gratitude list too, right? When it gets really hard, stop and think, what is going right? What's going right now? You know?
Yes. Well, I don't see any questions coming in or any comments. So thank you all so much for your time. I mean, taking out this time for you, having that commitment. I know it's tough, but thank you so much. Again, be sure to just check us out if you haven't already. Anything that I can do, any more information that you'd like to hear about. Um, and I'll make sure to send information on Rachel to Guiding and Guided by Humanity and some of the programs. And I know some of you aren't here in Colorado, so she mentioned they do Zoom things. So if you're interested in checking that out as well. But thank you all so much, Rachel. Thank you so much for what you do and what you provide to so many in need who need that peace and that calm. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiffany. It was such an honor to be here. I hope you all enjoyed it and I hope you have a great evening.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good evening. And thank you for my new background and dealing with me on my phone. So I appreciate everyone. Have a good night. Thank you all.
Good night.
Bye.